immigrants. So we have multiple families in our church all the way down in Georgetown, Texas, from Canada that have recently, come over here because Canada has turned into, it's just, Trudeau has lost his ever-loving mind, and we're happy to have him. And these are people who still love Canada. But they also are working on, developing a love and affection for America, not just benefiting from it, but wanting to be a blessing to this place and wanting to form an identity with this place. And so I think people who love America, having, a mitigated amount of people who are coming in that actually want to be Americans, not just reap the benefits, but they want to be Americans. They want our history to become their history and their grandchildren's history. And I think you do that, and I mean, easier said than done, but problem solved. I think that's a big part of it. So here's the second thing I want to run by you. I think a lot of people with the Christian nationalism thing, so the 6 categories that you've coined is super helpful, because I think that the reason why it's helpful is it's a compelling argument. It forces people to actually, pretty much everybody has to say, okay, well, I'm in this category. So with that, but brass tacks, practically, what does it look like to be a Christian nationalist? And I've been thinking about that, and I think whether you get to it through natural law and the Thomism, or whether Thomism, or whether you get there from Van Tillian, Greg Bahnsen, as you've said, a general equity theonomy, in both instances, it seems like what we're advocating for is not just the second table of the law, but all 10 commandments, the civil magistrate. Christ is head of all things, Ephesians 1:22. He's uniquely head of the church in the sense that the church is the only thing that Christ has died for, but he is head not exclusively, so uniquely head of the church, not exclusively head of the church, head of all things, including the state, separation between church and state, but not Christ and state. Caesar is God's deacon. He needs to legislate and uphold all 10 commandments, not just the second table, but first also. But then you bring in, that's the theonomy. And you bring in the post-millennialism, hurry up and wait. And you said something that I think bears repeating, that the state should perhaps obey the first table of the law for 200 years before it enforces it. I thought that was so insightful. And that's what I mean when I say Christian nationalism. We're not talking about rounding people up who are idolaters in the next 15 minutes. And even 200 years from now, I think also another thing that you've said is a clear distinction between crimes and sins. So even then, there's not this breaking into someone's home because of their private Islam worship, but there is something to be said for public expressions, high places in a nation. And again, after a couple centuries, and before, even then at that level, before the mosque is under question, wouldn't it be the public teaching of atheism to our children in state schools through evolution, that high place would come down first? Am I on the right track? Anything you would add to that?
Yeah, this is absolutely right. And the issue is not whether or not we want a society to be conforming to the 10 Commandments, living under the blessing of living under Deuteronomic blessings,
right? Because
we're walking under the favor of God and obeying his law. But we have to always remember, and this is the point you touched on, we have to always remember that when we are talking about suppression of blasphemy, I would say the first order of business is to suppress the magistrate's ability to blaspheme.
Amen.
Because in history, the state, the king, the ruling authorities have overwhelmingly used blasphemy codes to impose their blasphemy. And so we have to fix that problem.
Right.
Now, at some point, let's say we postulate some ideal Christian republic 500 years down the road, and some atheist loses his mind and goes down to the town square and starts blaspheming the name of God and the mother of Jesus, and just should he be scooped up and taken in? Well, yeah, I think that there are places for the prosecution of blasphemy on that level, but we have to remember that Jesus was executed on a blasphemy charge, right? That was the greatest blasphemy that our race has ever committed, and we did it in the name of enforcing the law of God.
Yeah, we committed the
law.
greatest blasphemy ever by silencing blasphemy.
Right. By quote unquote silencing blasphemy. And I want to say, okay, let's fix that problem first.
Mm-hmm.
And that means limited government. Mm. Okay. So if you gave a Martian a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and he read it, reread it. One of the things he would come away with, and we talked to him afterwards, and we said, "What's the central takeaway message that you have from reading our founding document?" He would say the central takeaway message is never trust an American. Right? Never trust, and particularly never trust an American politician with power.
Right.
All right. That's why the separation of powers. That's why the checks and balances. We have our system was a genius system for spreading the power as thinly as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now it's true that if you remove from the state the power to blaspheme, they might not be able to handle the occasional rogue blasphemer out here.
Right.
But we've got Christopher Dawson said the Christian church lives in the light of eternity and can afford to be patient. Mm-hmm. And we're post-millennial. We want to be patient.
Right.
And so as we are making our way toward this better society, we want a society in which blasphemy is not tolerated by anybody,
right,
particularly by the state.
All right. Stop twisting my arm. I know you want to hear the inside scoop. Here it is, the glorious vision of Right Response Ministries for the first half of next year, 2023. We have not one, not two, but three massive endeavors that we will accomplish by the grace of God. The first you already know about. It's our Theonomy and Postmillennialism conference. This is selling out incredibly fast. By the time this commercial airs, you may not even be able to get a ticket. I really don't know. So don't waste another moment. Go to rightresponseconference.com, rightresponseconference.com to join us for the Theonomy and Postmillennialism conference next year. Now, this is where you come in. We need your help. Our next two endeavors are, number one, a documentary-style film, and number two, a brand new studio. Both of these things are seeking to accomplish one primary goal, which is excellent, high-quality, glorious Christian media. We are tired of as Christians doing things poorly. We've done our best with what we have, but by God's grace, we want to do even better. This is not going to be just another video. This is not going to be a sermon or an interview or a podcast, but we're going to make a documentary-style film. And we're going to be hiring Nathan Anderson, the director of On Earth as It Is in Heaven, a very, very successful post-millennialism documentary that's on Amazon and YouTube, came out a couple years ago. He's going to be flying in from Chile to help us direct this film. And our documentary is going to be on postmillennialism and theonomy, why it's biblically valid, why it's absolutely necessary, and why, by the grace of God, theonomy and postmillennialism are currently on the rise. So we're going to make this film, and we need your support. And not just this film, but we're going to make all of our videos and podcasting and everything we do here at Right Response Ministries better. We want to achieve the highest level of quality and Christian excellence that we possibly can. That's where the new studio comes in. This new film, our date that we're shooting for is that it would be complete and publicly available in May or June of 2023, next year. The studio, our goal is that it would be completely done in its construction and the equipment and the setup and the stage and everything by January, February of 2023 next year. We need your prayers. We need your encouragement. And for those of you who are willing to do so, we need your generous support. You can give towards these endeavors by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Again, that's rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thank you so much for all your help. God bless.